was 9 years old, my older sister Nicole decided that she was going to bring home the movie Psycho from Blockbuster. At the time, I was probably in the third grade, so I was about 9, and she was probably an early teenager. Yeah, she was right around there. And right when the movie started, I knew that my life was going to change. That may seem a bit dramatic, but looking back on it, it did, because for the next couple of weeks, I couldn't shower without someone being in the bathroom with me because I was convinced I was going to get murdered. That is the beauty of Alfred Hitchcock. If anyone were to watch the movie today, sure, it's scary, but compared to the psychotic, like, demon movies of today, like The Conjuring or anything of that nature, Psycho doesn't really have the same elements as it does. Really, the only scary things is Norman Bates comes out of nowhere. It's basically the anticipation. The anticipation is what really kills you. So, if you were to look back on it today, you have the really scary music, but then that's pretty much it. You don't really see anything that's too gory or anything like that, but it's all in the music and the anticipation, and that is what Alfred Hitchcock was so good at. He created his films, so he started off in silent films, and then once he became really good at those, he started making thrillers in Britain, and then he began to get noticed by the United States. The United States wanted him to be in Hollywood, so once he was pretty notable, he moved over to Hollywood, and then he started making thrillers. He started off slowly, and then he started building up his career even more, and then soon enough he was the king of suspense. He was a great, great director, and then he built a whole legacy, and he built a whole new genre that to this day is unlike any other genre in the movie industry. So first, when you're learning about Alfred Hitchcock, it's important to know that he did start off in Great Britain. He started off kind of slowly. He didn't really get a lot of recognition. It was in the early 20s, and he started off with silent films. He had a fascination with photography. He loved photography so much, and he loved looking at all the images that one still picture was able to capture, and he thought that was really important. So for the first couple of films, he had a string of bad luck. Not a lot of people watched them, not a lot of people liked them, but then he was able to have his first success. And in that movie, a girl she falls in love with this one man, and she goes to his flat, and he ends up trying to kill her after he tries to rape her. But she kills him in self-defense, and then her boyfriend at the time, he comes by because he's the investigator, and he tries to protect her. And that's the first movie that really caught people's attention, because in that time, people really didn't make movies about that. That was kind of frowned upon, if you will. So he got recognition with that first film. And then he started beginning to make thrillers. So he put a little bit of lines into his movies. He put more things than just music and images. And that began to just build. And he began the phenomenon of Hitchcock blonde. And this is funny because in all of his films, basically the leading woman is a blonde. And people were kind of creeped out by that because he obviously had a type, and he always wanted his leading lady to be a beautiful blonde. So that's when that started as well. And then at this time, the United States noticed his work, and the United States wanted him over in Hollywood, so that's what they did. So they brought him over. Different publications were raving about him, calling him Alfred the Great. He was getting multiple movie awards. He was basically sweeping the floor with all of his awards for thrillers and suspense. And then he was over in America. So he started off slowly in America as well. He began making romantic comedies and thrillers, which weren't that popular, but then he made a movie called Shadow of Doubt. And it was about this girl and her Uncle Charlie. And Uncle Charlie came into town, and he wasn't who she thought he was. And they're on a train together, and she finds out that it isn't actually her Uncle Charlie. And so that brought on a lot of intrigue from the audience. They really liked that throughout the movie it was kind of like a mystery, but they were also scared. It was giving them a lot of emotions. So that is when he began to be super successful in his film career. It wasn't until the 1950s, so he started in the 20s, and so it wasn't until 30 years later that he really hit his peak. He started making movies like Dial M for Murder, Rear Window, my favorite, To Catch a Thief, and Psycho. To Catch a Thief is with Cary Grant and Grace Kelly. I think Grace Kelly is incredible, and I love Cary Grant. And that movie is just so good because it starts off and you don't know who the thief is. And I mean, I guess that is the main reason of the movie, but it's just so interesting and it's fun. It's in the olden days and it's just fabulously directed. And then you also have Psycho, and I'll play the music for Psycho right now just to show you that it took more than just an image or a scary thing to pop up to make watchers scared. It was more something like this.
Here we have.
It's just that music that was able to get people scared. Just like in Jaws, they were able to get that from that movie as well. Like the donna donna, like music is more suspenseful, and you know when it's coming, and it's the anticipation that builds that makes people so scared. So because of all of this, Alfred Hitchcock was able to inspire many movie makers during that time and today. He was able to incorporate less dialogue in movies and add more suspenseful music like the Psycho music, and just make movie watchers so scared that it was all in the anticipation. Without Alfred Hitchcock, the thrillers of today wouldn't be the same. I think in most movies today, it's all about the music and all about the anticipation. And I just think that's so funny because it isn't what's actually popping up on the screen that scares you. It's what you're feeling inside. It's what the directors are making you feel that scares you. So it's really like you're inside your own head watching these movies getting so terrified. So Alfred Hitchcock, even though he's dead now, he has had such an impact on the movie making business. He once said that there is no terror in the bang, only in the anticipation of it. Hitchcock may have been ahead of his time and often thought of as an unstable man with his Hitchcock blondes and how he directed and how he would show up in some of his films. People didn't really agree with it. But he was able to scare all of his watchers with anticipation. He knew that most people would become scared no matter what, but even more so when they had to wait for it. After a successful career filled with award-winning films, Alfred Hitchcock could be named one of the best directors in cinematic history and the king of thrillers. He was able to pave a road for young movie makers and to inspire a multitude of generations ahead of him. His art was unique and nothing that the world had ever seen before. He was able to take a girl in a shower and add horrifying music and make it one of the scariest scenes in cinematic history. Alfred Hitchcock was a director who went his own way and paved his own path. He did not follow the crowd, but instead inspired them by coloring outside the lines. Luckily for us, he was brave enough to venture this way and pursue his visions. Otherwise, we may never have been exposed to the genre of suspense that we now know today. Thank you.